Good morning, brothers and sisters. Thank you so much to the music ministry, the band, for wonderful foundation for a sermon giver. Actually, June Darby called me during this week. So I don't know why actually I'm standing here today, but in one sense, I'm grateful to Mr. Hayashi for inviting me to give the sermon after coming back from Ghana and all that. But June Darby asked me this week if I could talk to the pastors and do what we call homiletics, teach them how to give a sermon. I said, me? She said, yeah, you've been to the seminary. And I said, well, funny thing is I'm giving the sermon in Lancaster Gate this Sunday, but I said, I need to go through my notes, because I have notes on how to give a sermon. We were taught in the seminary, one of the topics, wasn't it, homiletics. So anyway, but I want to start this morning with a little victory I had. It's nothing to do with weight, but I think the principle of victory, principle of succeeding is the same. How many of you own a car? Yeah? There can be a pain, right? I mean, I love my car. So it's a black Astra, Vauxhall Astra SRI 1.8, I think. It's a nice little sporty car I've had for a few years. But I had a challenge 21 months ago in November 2016. Coming to pick up my wife from Lancaster Gate after work, I was involved in an accident just on Craven Road, going into Craven Terrace. An Uber driver, there was actually a traffic jam going towards Paddington. An Uber driver went on the wrong side of the road, right? And I was given one car allowed me to cross to Craven Terrace from Devonshire Terrace to Craven Terrace, across Craven Road. And as I started crossing safely, the Uber driver hit me on the wing, smashed my car. I'm going to cut a long story short. 21 months has passed, and until this week, it has not been resolved. And it's been a frustration for me, been a lot of stress and worry and things like that. Most of all financially, because if you know about cars, if you have had an accident and there's what's called an open claim, it's not settled, your insurance goes up when you're renewing it. And in July, which is around the 24th of July is when I normally renew my insurance. So last July, a year ago in fact, it went up by over £400 than normal. So instead of being 300 and something for the car, 380 or whatever, it went up to 700, So it went up quite a lot. And all the insurance companies know about this, so you can't hide. You can't pretend you didn't have the accident. They come to know. You can't hide. So anyway, so everyone was high, so I stayed with the same Eshaw, my company. Anyway, then this year, I decided I'm not staying with them, so I actually got another deal, which is a bit more than usual, but much less than what my insurance was offering me. Now, so the victory happened on a Tuesday, so that means on Friday, last week, the week before on Friday, I got a phone call from the solicitors of my insurance to say that the other solicitors, the solicitors of the defendants of Uber's people, they said, would I accept a 50% 50-50 claim? In other words, 50% responsibility for the accident. And actually, just to tell you, I was 100% not at fault. Okay, even my own insurance, everybody believed me. I've got evidence, pictures of the accident, where the cars were and everything. So this is, 21 months ago, this accident happened. Anyway, I said to the solicitor of my insurance company, I said, look, it wouldn't be fair if I did that. If I accepted 50% responsibility, that means I'm at 50% fault, but also means I'll only get 50% of the excess and other expenses I had, which I claimed. I'll only get 50% of that, and that's not fair. So they're being very arrogant, especially when they're 100% at fault. So I said, no, I can't accept it. But what I will accept, and I already accepted a year ago, is 80-20 in my favor. So at 20%, I take fault, just to finish the case. But anyway, that was not accepted. So she said, okay, I've got an idea. I will ask them for their evidence, which for some reason, I don't know why they didn't have it. Anyway, cut long story short, on Monday or Tuesday, I get the phone call saying, Mr. De Souza, it's all settled. It's all settled. And the insurance, Uber, the other party, is going to pay in full. Everything is settled. So actually, why am I telling you this? It just tells me, sometimes you one has to, persevere for in this case, 21 months. I paid extra money with the premium renewal, blah, 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 But anyway, in the end of the day, I felt so happy on Tuesday, and I got a letter a few days later to confirm that, I'll get my full check back, so things are back to square one. So I'm happy about that. Anyway, so with that, I've called the sermon Lending a Helping Hand, because I think sometimes, it is good to lend a hand, and for people, for those who are giving the help, and also receiving. So I chose this topic because I want to share with you today that I've learned a lot about why I went to Ghana by preparing for this sermon. And so I'm grateful to Mr. Hayashi for asking me. Internally, I learned many, many things. I know we had a lot of struggles, which I'm going to share, and some of the good things and so experiences I will share with you today. But I also internally learned a lot of things as I took time to prepare for this sermon. So let's see the first slide. Holly Bain made this banner before we went. This is the banner we used in Ghana. And this is the reason why we went. And it was to launch Wait Ghana, actually on the 13th of July. So we went on the 9th and came back on the 24th. And so the main purpose for going, if you like, was to launch. And I'm going to explain to you that, a foundation was made by Diana, who's the Wait leader there, and the Women's Federation president and others. They made a foundation for over a year for us to come. So the next one. Initially, this was the team, although Karen Fakan came 4 days later. So, do you know everybody there? Yeah, okay. Apart from myself, there's Philip Diocaris, Holly Bain, and Sasha Mould. Okay, so this was the team. And I want to just share with you how it came about that this team, came together. Well, I was working with Diana for over a year, sending information and so on, to support her in developing Wait. She actually she felt inspired by Wait and started Wait Club in 4 schools in Accra. And she was, Wait clubs. So basically, she was teaching about Wait's, the reason to abstain, and HIV presentations and all that, things that Wait does. And also, she got teachers involved to do the normal youth activities. So that was a combination, okay, in the clubs. But she had this vision to do more than that, and which I'm going to talk about Matthew 7:7, which I think Simon Cooper mentioned some weeks ago. From the Gospel of Matthew in the Bible, Jesus said, seek and you will find, knock and the door will be open. I think Diana used this very much to get me and the Wait team to go to Ghana for a very good reason. Anyway, so let me just tell you then, just briefly, what each person did. Sorry, before I'm jumping here. So I decided at least one person should go to help with the launch, okay? And then it developed. It turned out maybe it was good if a couple more came, because they could give some presentations to teach the Ghanaian children a little bit what Wait is doing. So I put it out to the Wait team, who would like to go? And the first 2 people to reply was Philip and Sasha. They both said they'd like to go. And I said, look, that's great, but I need to talk to your parents. Because, Sasha was not yet even 16. She was 16 on the 2nd of August. So she wasn't even 16. And Philip went to the Philippines last year, and he's only just turned 16. So actually, I had to talk to the parents, both for protection reasons, but also financial reasons and so on. Anyway, the parents were very happy that these 2 would go. So then next day, I went and booked the tickets for the 3 of us. And that evening, which was actually the deadline, because if you know about tickets prices, on the 1st of June, they go up quite a lot, because officially the summer begins and the tickets go up. So I booked for these 3 at a reasonable price, under £700. I booked these 3 tickets. And that evening, I got a long email from Holly Bain to say, to put her case that she wants to go. And actually, I was thinking of Sasha, because I think it'd be good if Sasha had another girl with her. So I thought it was a good idea. But I said, I'll check tomorrow. The tickets are going up, but I'll check and see the price. And if it's not too bad, then I'll book it. And I did that next day. It was a little bit more, £40 more, but I thought it was worth it. It was worth it. So I called Holly and said, and talked to her parents as well. And then Holly came on board. And then finally, 4 days later, I get a phone call from Karen Fakeng. Now, the deadline's gone, and technically I should have closed shop. But anyway, being a softie a little bit, I am. I don't know, I said to Karen, and I talked to her parents as well again, I said it's going to cost a bit more because the prices have gone up now. And in fact, when I did call Flight Centre, it had gone up by another £80. Because, you know, the airlines have so many cheaper tickets on the planes and so on. Anyway, she said to me, I really want to go. And she said, the reason I want to go is that I want to become a doctor, and going to Ghana will really help my statement, you know, in preparation for application to medical school and things like that. So I said, really? I said, okay. So I look into it. And anyway, in the end, I talked to her parents, and she said she'll fundraise, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, so I accepted her. Also, she's older. She's 18. So I thought it'd be good to have one older, you know, teenager there. So for those reasons, then that became the team, these 4 plus Karen Fakang. And then also, on the other hand, IRFF offered to pay for Tadeo, the weight leader in Uganda, to come for a week. So so he came and did a great job as well. Okay. So the launch. So this was the reason why we went. On the 13th of July, we had this is the celebration, the cake celebration of that day. And it was attended by 250 students from 10 schools. So actually, I gave a goal to Diana. She said, how many schools should we invite? I said, well, you know, you could have a hall for 1,000, 2,000 people, but it's going to cost a lot of money. And she only gets a small donation from the Women's Federation every month. And I said, we can't just be, we're struggling already with the tickets. You know, so I said, look, why don't you just set a goal for 10 schools? And then it turns out 250 students plus teachers and guests attended on that day. It was at the Teachers' Hall in Accra. I only did one picture for each, so not to bore you with too many pictures. So this was the celebration cake. That's Diana with the white T-shirt, and we have this is her mother on the with the white T-shirt there, and the others are guests and pastors and other people, and the white team on my right there. So. So there was talks by different people. I gave the main, like a chairman's talk, and 2 schools offered drama to show. These are from the weight clubs. They're showing the benefits of abstinence and so on. And then the weight team also did a performance. So that was basically the launch. Okay, next. Then we went to the 10 schools. Actually, we didn't go to the 10. We contacted the 10, but we actually presented a weight. And I'm going to tell you what each one did, because everybody who comes to wait and, you know, has to learn a lot of things, the rules and even some of the presentations, right? But especially if you go to Ghana, you go to another country, you can't just come for the ride. You've got to earn your keep, in a sense. So this is how it was. Sasha, in each school, we asked each school to give us 45 minutes. So Sasha gave the rules. She developed her own PowerPoint based on the 10 rules and the 3 development stages in weight. She did really well. Holly did something that I developed many years ago, the 10 reasons to abstain, 12 reasons, sorry, a dozen reasons to abstain before marriage, and which Auntie Naomi was giving in the Philippines and so on. But Holly took that on board and put her own, made it her own, and she did a really good job. And then Philip, who also went to the Philippines with Karen last time, Philip gave the biology of HIV/AIDS and the consequences of living with HIV. Karen was the MC for the event, and she also did the quiz to test what the children listened to, what they listened or didn't listen to afterwards. And myself, I started things off with an introduction to what weight is, introduced the team, introduced Tadeo when he was there, and and I answered any questions. So that was my role. Okay, so we went to 6 schools and presented. This is the God's Glory School, and the reason I chose this slide is that teacher in the middle there on my left, Mrs. Yamankwa. She became a very prominent person for us and for the future of Weight Ghana. She's the head teacher of God's Glory School in Accra, but also she's the secretary of the Teachers Association of Accra. So she's a very important lady, and she did something very special. I'll come down to another slide and explain what she did for us. She really supported us. Okay, let's move to the next one. Now, on the 18th of July, around the world is Nelson Mandela Day. Okay, and so in Ghana, as in other countries, they celebrated Mandela Day. This time it was an opportunity for YSP, Youth and Students for Peace. They kind of initiated this event, and the weight team was the guest for the event. but also that man with the white shirt. Does anyone know who that is? Okay, he is the former president of Ghana, J.J. Rawlins. So he was there as well. And you can see here, the purpose I chose the reason I chose this photograph is that we acknowledged 10 African heroes who did something for peace and justice in Africa. And then I was asked to give a talk, and I talked about, from the UK, I acknowledged the life of Nelson Mandela as a great statesman, a man who suffered 27 years in prison and who really fought for peace and justice. So I said, from the UK, we think very, very highly of him. So that was my message. Okay, so that was an event, a big public event that we attended. Right, now, I mentioned Mrs. Yamankwa invited us to a special event. And this was at a Methodist church. We attended a meeting of teachers, head teachers. And the man, can you see the man who looks a bit with a special, I don't have the thing here, but there's a man with a special outfit there. He's the chief of, it's called Noibi district in Ghana, in Accra. And he was the main speaker at this meeting, telling the teachers of all these 30 schools that were represented that he's going to give them money to really help youth and development. And Mrs. Yamankwa was very clever. She asked us to explain to the teachers and the chief what we do with the schools, how we teach the children. So the first thing we did was we went through the 45 minutes. And I explained that this is what we are teaching. And he says, you're 15, 16-year-olds, and you're teaching teachers, and you're teaching, children from the age 9 to, well, I think it was 9 to 18 in the schools. So, but I said, yeah, that's what we learn in England. We start young and we develop. So anyway, to cut a long story short, the chief and the teachers were very inspired by the weight presentations. And then after the holidays, they're going to be calling Diana and her team to start youth weight clubs, and also maybe even develop a weight team in the different schools. So there's going to be a lot of presentations going on in these 30 schools. There's a lot of hope, I think, for Weight Ghana. And then finally, this is the very last day at the church center headquarters. By the way, we stayed to cut our costs. We could have stayed in a hotel or youth hostel, but we chose to stay in the headquarters. Philip and I had what was normally the lounge, small lounge where the national leader meets with people. We moved the sofas to the back and we put mattresses on the floor. That was for Philip and me, and the sisters had a sister's room. So we stayed there. And that's the national leader on my right. His name is Reverend James Edu. And then on his right is the Women's Federation President, Mrs. Martha White, and then Diana and some others. Anyway, why was this significant? Was that it was the last evening that we had in Ghana. And Mrs. White, the Women's Federation President, she's also the Vice President of the church as well, she organized a bye-bye party for us. And she was quite instrumental in the whole weight development with Diana. So we had lovely food, and I decided that we should ask everybody, not just the weight members, but also the headquarters staff, to share their experiences of these 2 weeks. So we had a testimony evening, which I chaired, and basically, everyone shared their experiences. And I think I shared something last week, like Karen Fakan said, she's so inspired to come and stay in headquarters for 2 weeks, because then she could start doing hunduke and things like that again. So, that was good, because in the church headquarters, in a church center, if you've lived in a church center before, it's they do traditional things there, which maybe sometimes we don't do at home. But, they keep hunduke in the morning, unshil, closing prayer, they do all those things. So it was very good for all of us to experience that, especially if we become a little bit lazy or rusty. Anyway, finally, the national leader had the closing words, and also Mrs. White. And as I said last week in my little report, they said that they were so inspired by these young members from the UK, teaching teachers and all the children. And also they inspired, apparently, we've inspired the older second gen to start doing things. And I'm going to mention this point later on. So actually, that's one of my goals in Wait, is to help inspire people to do things. Okay. So anyway, so yeah. So that was the end of that, and we left at 3 o'clock next morning. We went back to the airport. Okay. So that's the end of the slides for now. Now I said to Mr. Hayashi, I want to look into, like, why do we embark on such projects, like going to Ghana or service projects or whatever it might be. Well, I've taken Wait to quite a few countries. Some of you know, some of you have been to already. I know Carmel has, and also Kieran, you've been to Poland and other places. So why do we do that? So I've come up with 10 reasons, there might be more, 10 reasons why it's good to do things like this. So let's see what you think. First of all, from Wait's point of view, we have a role to play in reducing the spread of HIV and AIDS. So when you go to a country where there's an increase, whether it's the Philippines or Poland or wherever, if there's an increase in HIV and AIDS, then it's good to go and do some education for the young people to help prevent or reduce the increase in HIV and AIDS. And we teach, the value of abstinence, and we teach about how the virus works in the body, how it restricts you in your life, and so on. And we teach performing arts. We teach singing, dancing, and drama. So that's one reason to go. Another reason is to give an opportunity of education to team members going and those who receive the education. Like I said, so Sasha, Holly, Philip, and Karen, they had to learn these presentations. I think Holly's one was the biggest challenge because that presentation which I developed was given by parents, usually by Naomi and myself. So for Holly, a 16-year-old, to make that her own was quite something. And even the national leader saw that after Sunday service. One Sunday, he asked for a copy of that. He didn't ask for any other thing. He asked for a copy of the 12 reasons that Holly did. So he's got a copy of that. So it's a very good opportunity for education of our young people, both the Wait members, but also those who are receiving the education. Thirdly, in connection to number 2, it's also, like I said before, helps Wait members to be role models. I always think of Wait members as role models because, free sex has been a big thing for many, many years. There's an increase in STIs in this country, in many other countries, of course. And, so for Wait members to stand up against this, promote abstinence, is a big thing. So they're role models. And, I could have, like I said many times, I could give all these presentations. Some people may think it's boring for me to give them, but I could give them all. But isn't it better for a 16, 17-year-old, 18-year-old to give these presentations to their peers? It makes so much more sense, and they can, I think, receive it better. So that's why we want them to be good role models. Also, it encourages young people, youth and young people, to do things maybe they otherwise wouldn't do. How many people travel around the world? That's what I love traveling, but not everyone has opportunities maybe to travel or even think about going and doing something in a third world country and so on. So actually, it's a very good opportunity to encourage young people to do something that they wouldn't maybe otherwise do. I also think, number 5, that it's fulfilling a goal. As I said earlier, Wait has a mandate to try and stop the spread of HIV and AIDS, to even get rid of AIDS in the first place. That's our ultimate goal, but which is a challenge, of course. But we have a goal to try and help youth, especially in Africa, to save lives. Many young people are dying because they don't have money. They don't have money to buy the ARVs, the medication, and so on. So we have an opportunity. We have a mandate, if you like, to help save lives in Africa and other countries, and help young people live a healthy life. So actually, that is a goal of Wait. So we could say one of the main reasons for going is also to fulfill this goal. And I said earlier, number 6, I love traveling. Wait has been to, I can count maybe in 2 hands. Wait has been to Ireland, Uganda, Czech Republic, Switzerland, South Africa, Kenya, Philippines, Poland, and now Ghana. We've actually also sent representatives to Malawi and Zambia. So actually, we've had in the last 13 years, we've done quite a lot of traveling, a lot of outreach around the world. with the goal of stopping HIV/AIDS and giving young people a better kind of living. Now, number 7, I don't know what you think of this one. This is maybe more personal to me. What about this thinking that I have? I've received help and support. So why not give some to others? Yeah, that's why I call this giving a helping hand. You can go to the. That's why I title this sermon "Lending a Helping Hand," because I feel I've been helped a lot. I've been helped a lot in my church life, and has been supported in many ways. Of course, I may have certain ideas and visions, but you can't. No man is an island. You can't just do things by yourself. So I'm very grateful for all the help and support I've got, and I feel it's also good to give, to help others where there's a need, and do that. There are many Bible quotes where Jesus talks about, people who know God are those who help others. Right? You've heard those ones, helping the homeless and feeding the poor and things like that. So it's always good to help other people, especially if you've received help yourself. Number 8. Have a break from the life in the UK. I thought you'd laugh. Although it's hard work, I now was sick, and in fact, I still even can't. I don't know whether it's because of Ghana or not, but I've got a problem with this arm even now. But I've got to resolve it somehow. I got a cold shoulder while I was in Ghana. I think from the air conditioning, from the fan. We had the fan on all night because, and I sleep on this side. So anyway, what I'm saying is it's hard work going to a country like that, especially if you're an older person. But anyway, so it's still good to take a break from the UK, isn't it? It's good to go to another country, another culture. So going to all these countries has been an eye opener for me, but also it's been a refreshing thing. A suffering course in some ways, but equally, sleeping on the floor in a centre, blah blah blah. But still, it's been worthwhile, and I've enjoyed it. How about this as number 9? Fulfilling this law of prophecy. Who's seen the film Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner? And there's a saying in that, if you build it, he will come. Yeah, it was about this baseball pitch in the cornfield. Yeah, and I think Diana used this, whether consciously or unconsciously. She did exactly this. She made a foundation of over a year for Wait UK to come. I really believe that. If you build it, he will come. So she made a foundation. She went to 4 schools, as I said. She already had this vision. Oh, and I haven't told you. Another good piece of news I got this week. Wait, Ghana is now registered. It's officially registered, and they can fundraise legally. So actually, it's a very good, very good thing for Ghana. Yeah. So. And thanks to a small donation I left behind as well, but because it costs money, so it's now I can see a lot of things happening in Ghana. I'm very grateful. Anyway, so I think if you make a foundation, then it opens the door for people like myself and the Wait team to go there and develop further, as I've said. So I think now we'll have 30 schools to worry about, and hopefully we can get. I mentioned Mr. Rawlins. I don't talk too much about him because he's been a bad boy in the past. However, I believe from the church and from True Mother, he has changed. I won't talk too much about that. But I did have a word with him, and I said to him, "You've got to focus." I had a chance to talk to him, and I said to him, "Mr. Rawlins, you're saying you're doing good things now. And I have to believe you," I said. "But, please do them honestly and help the country. We've come here because we had a calling. And, so I really want to see Ghana. It's an able kind of country, in my opinion." And I said, "I want to see this country really develop. So please do what you can." I said that to the former president of Ghana. I had an opportunity to tell him that. And because I heard he did some very bad things when he was the president. And that, he says he's changed. People say he's changed. But I hope that is true. And I hope and pray, there's a reformation in Ghana because of that. Okay, and the last reason, number 10, is kind of related to what I've said already before. Assist someone who is trying to do something similar to what you've done before or believe in, but are restricted. So like in Africa or Asia, people like to do things. They may have a vision and so on, but money is a problem. Even here, money is a problem sometimes, isn't it? So, anyway, finance can be a problem. But that's another reason why I felt we should go, because here's Diana and her team are trying to do with very limited funds. They're trying to do, and I've been able, to help weight teams or start in many countries. So why not help Ghana? Why not help a country where someone is really trying? That's rule number 2 in weight, isn't it? To try. If you try and try, you will succeed. So actually, if someone's doing something, it's good to support. And I said earlier, Matthew 7:7, I think Diana must have prayed to Jesus, to God, that we come and help her. And because they couldn't have done the launch financially, they couldn't have done it. Because we supported the Lord. We paid for the hall and for the refreshments and things. So it was worthwhile doing that, because I think it's made a very, very good foundation there. So those are my 10 reasons. Are they reasonable reasons? A feasible reason? Yeah? Okay. And the last part of my sermon now is to go through 2 Bible quotes. Okay? Okay. This is one from Jesus, this particular quote. But before I say that, just to say then, before I go into this, Diana made a foundation starting weight clubs in 4 schools. She got some donations and support from Women's Federation to do this. Her goal was to expand this effort, take it to a higher level, even national. Our support and going there has helped to do this. It will happen. So now finally, I'd like to read this quote from Jesus in Matthew 5:14-16. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. I'm not saying for 1 minute that I do it because of this. I'm not saying I do what I do sometimes simply because, I want praise or anything, but it is for God. And I want to say this in relation to this lovely Bible verse, which I've loved all my life. I'm grateful to God I'm grateful to have met God, true parents, and the divine principle. I'm truly grateful to have done that. Sorry. Who knows, I have to say this, who knows what I would be doing today if I hadn't met the church, if I hadn't met true parents, and hadn't met, the principle. I had a dream, by the way, before I met the church. I don't know if I ever told anybody what I wanted to be when I grew up. Did I tell anybody? Joanna, do you know? I don't know if I told even my wife. I was hoping to be a rally driver. That's why I love cars, and even my Astra is a SRI, it's a sporty version. Not that I drive fast, but it is a sporty version. I wanted to be a rally driver, and I think maybe in the spirit world one day I'll be able to go on a rally somewhere. Yeah. But anyway, seriously, I really feel, that God wants us to be light of the world. He wants us to show that God exists, as true parents are doing. True parents are showing the existence of God, of heavenly parents in the world, and also the work of the true parents, of course, as well. So, so this quote has always been in my heart. Although, like I say, I don't do things because of the quote. Yeah, and then Father's words. This is taken from a speech, God's Will in the World, the book, page 31. There's a speech called What We Should Do in Our Lifetime. Okay, it's a speech given in Seoul, Korea on the 27th of September, 1970. And I just picked this one quote. I don't know why, I really love this quote. It just means something to me. In our Unification Church, those who worked for the sake of their own benefit all disappeared. If people work silently for the sake of nation and world, whether other people are looking at them or not, they become bound deeply to each other without the need for promises in words. Therefore, in prayer, also, it is most important to pray in a place that nobody knows, and to do your sincere best. This kind of person is the one who stays until the end. Such a person becomes a treasure in the heart of God. Isn't it nice if we can all become treasures in the heart of God, in God's heart? I was thinking, when you look at the news, I know I went through this morning, I went through Peace TV and Mike Balcom's video this morning, and you know, you can sense there's a lot of hope with this heavenly nation thing, heavenly South America, heavenly Japan that True Mother's promoting. That gives you hope, yeah? But it still worries me. I'll be honest with you, standing up here. I'm still worried with the state of the world today, you know, and maybe that's why I'm doing WAIT, why I did religious youth service, why I did BCLC, why I started all these organizations, because I personally am worried about the world. Maybe I'm not doing enough, but I am still worried that there's such a lot still to be done in the world. And you know, so God knows there's a lot to be done to build the world of Chonilguk. There's a real lot and I know True Mother and the True family are working very hard, and I, you know, prayerfully support them in that. But I think together, you know, we have to play some role as well. And that's one of the reasons also why I think I'm doing what I'm doing. So, because we love God, True parents, and the world, we can't stop, even if we get old. And I feel sometimes I'm getting older. I deliberately didn't want to look too young today, by the way. I could have done my hair, but I didn't, because I wanted to just be natural in front of you today. So, partly for this reason. We just do what we can. We should just do what we can when we can, yeah? So, you know, faith plays a big role too. Mr. Hayashi asked me, I know I've said this a few times, the Sunday before we went, Mr. Hayashi asked me in the reception, in the cafe, he asked me, how are you doing financially for this trip? And I said to him, I don't worry, which is true. We still have a goal of £1,340 left to pay the airfares and things, but I'm not worried because we've got the annual gathering coming up. There are ways of raising money, and if we unite with the team and so on, we'll raise the money. I'm not worried. But, you know, the thing is, I think it's more important to have a reason to do something, to go and do it, and then to worry about the money. Because if it's if God wants you to do it, the money will come. You've got to make effort, but the money will come. I have that philosophy. That's why we could raise £8,000 for the Philippines last year. And, you know, faith plays a big role. With belief and conviction, things can happen. Money can be found to fund these projects, and the right people, too, that can get involved. Yeah, I honestly believe help comes when you help others who need help. So that's why I use this title of this sermon, Lending a Helping Hand, because I think lending a helping hand is very key to being success. For any religious person, it's like a spiritual law. You know, if you help others who need help, God will help you. Not only help you fulfill the help, but help you as well in your own life and so on. So I think I just want to conclude by saying, you know, I'm truly, truly grateful to all your help, all the church, you know, even the American WAIT team. I don't know if I mentioned to you this, there is no more WAIT in America. And who benefited from that? WAIT UK and WAIT Philippines benefited from that, because for some reason the teams all quit, had broken up, and no one could follow them up and so on. And then when I told Kate Subata I was going to Philippines last year, she sent me £1,000 and then closed the account. And WAIT Nebraska sent me the balance of their money, which is like £200-300, and they sent all their costumes and T-shirts to the Philippines. So WAIT could close, you know, in America, and others could benefit from it. So yeah. So I think when you this is the point, when you try to help others, you know, God helps you. And yeah. So with that, I just want to end and thank you again, truly everybody around the world, you know, and God and Spirit world for all the help that we could do all these things. God bless you. Right, let me just pray. Yeah? Okay. Please join me in prayer. Our dearest Heavenly Parents and our true parents, thank you so much I could stand up here this morning and share these few words with my brothers and sisters. Father, I'm grateful to have been able to have the opportunity to do these things, especially taking WAIT to many different countries. And I really pray that the effort that we've made, and especially the young WAIT members who sacrifice their time and money and energy to come, I really pray that the foundation we've left behind in these countries can really help them to be victorious, that AIDS can really be stopped one of these days. Even True Father said one of the evils of this world is HIV and AIDS. Many years ago, he said. And I pray that AIDS can be, because it's a killer. And if you've got money to buy the medication, you can live longer, of course. But in many African countries, many poor people just do not have the money. So they die early and they go to spirit world, which is such a sad thing for you and for everyone. So I pray truly, Heavenly Father, that the work of WAIT and also other organizations can truly benefit the world, and that we can do our best as church members, as the children of our true parents, that we can do our best to do what we can in our restricted time and finances, and really help the world in a better way and support our true mother in this heavenly era of building Chulunguk. Thank you so much for this time now, and I pray for each one who came here today. Please bless them, and I pray for all those who've supported, particularly this trip to Ghana. I want to offer this prayer with gratitude in my name and in the name of all those who we worked with. In my name, Mashallah, Souza Central Blessed Family. Arju.